Greetings, everybody, and welcome to 4K for You. I am Tom Connors. With me is my co-host, Mr. Valliant Renegade. How you doing, sir?
Doing very good. Good to be back here on a Wednesday evening, live at 5. Good to see everybody out there.
Indeedy do, live at 5, talking some 4K. That's right.
Yep.
Welcome, everybody in the chat. We got Naked Fame, Duck Nation. Warren Smith is here. Courtney, Fellowship of Oddballs. Michael Miller's in the chat as well. Thank you for being here. Jazz King, just delightful. Thank you for being here. Cosmic Squirrel, I seen Steven in here as well earlier. Thank you so much, guys. Welcome, Max Mercer and KB. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Got some hellos from people. Thank you so much. That's right, Hamdinger. I am here, and so are you. We're glad to have you here. So yeah, we got some news to talk about, some fresh 4K news and some other things. Other than that, though, how was your holiday? How are things going for you?
It was good. Nice Thanksgiving, simple, quiet. Go over to the in-laws' house. Don't have much to do, which is always nice to just be able to show up and then go. I don't have to clean. I don't have to cook. I don't have to do anything. So I can't complain. Usually when I'm at home, I'm the one cooking. So it's a nice turn of events.
There you go. Well, I'm glad you had a great holiday. I drugged the parents to Ghostbusters. So that was the extent of mine. But I cannot complain. That was fun. So with that, though, we do have some news. Looks like we're getting some more 4Ks from Arrow. Looks like Deadly Games, or actually that's a 2K one, sorry. But we are getting Phenomena in 4K. That would be the Dario Argento film. Then we're also getting, it looks like Lies and Deceit will be getting a 4K restoration. I don't know if that's going to be getting a 4K release or not, but there you go. But Phenomena was their big announcement of earlier this week. Looks like there's tons of great Black Friday deals. Also, if you're a fan of the Stanley Kubrick film Paths of Glory, that is getting a 4K release next year. Also looks like the BFI is going to be restoring Melville's, I'm going to fuck this title up, but Les Enfants Terribles. So there you go.
Enfants terribles.
Yeah, that.
14 years of French. I need to get back into it. Yeah.
There you go. And then the Fabulous Dorseys is also getting a 4K restoration. I believe that's from... can't remember who that was from, but yeah, that's getting restored. Also, I jumped the gun on The Howling, but that's all right. Shout Factory has announced that we are getting a 4K release of The Howling. So there you go. For those who missed out on that one.
Oh, yeah, and don't forget this week, the big release that everybody has been dying to get their hands on is Shang-Chi.
Nobody said that. I don't remember anybody saying that.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Got a couple other Scream titles, though. Alligator, starring Robert Forster, is getting a 4K release. I believe I saw that Alligator 2 is getting a 4K release as well.
Yes, yeah, I saw that one.
And Dune was the other one.
Indeed.
But the point of contention with Dune is we're not getting the 4K version in the IMAX version, I mean.
Yeah, not the IMAX version. It is going to be the, call it cropped or not original aspect ratio. Now, it's not to say that we might not see that at a future date.
Right.
I guess depending on how well the popularity of the sales are with the film. It also depends. I don't know if HBO Max has slated it to re-enter the HBO Max library.
It's interesting you bring that up.
Yeah.
I was thinking that exact same thing, sir. I was thinking what they will do is release it on Blu-ray and DVD. And then when they bring it back, it'll be that version. Like Disney just version. Did with, like Disney just did. And that's part of the reason why I feel like that may be the case.
Yeah, I think they're going to want to do something to differentiate the releases to give people a reason. Hey, you can go out and own the physical copy, but if you want the IMAX version, you got to be on HBO Max. And hey, we've got a plan now at $9.99 with ads you can get. It's cheaper. So yeah, I think that's where it's going to go. That would make a lot of sense from a business standpoint. I know we don't all like it from a having a physical copy of that original aspect ratio perspective, but Again, it's not to say that maybe a year or two down the line that they do throw that out. I could see them doing that as a pre-release booster for when the second part of Dune comes out, where they'll actually create a physical media disc of the IMAX version right before the second one comes out. So that's 2 years away, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, and surprisingly, but not so surprisingly, we are getting a 3D release as well. So for those who do care,
Like you.
I will be carrying, and yeah, so then I'll just get the 3D one now, and then I'll wait and hold off and see if we eventually get another version of Dune that is the IMAX version. And we'll take it from there. Because I already have HBO Max, so if I want to watch it in 4K. Hey. But for those who are curious, yes, there will be a exclusive Best Buy Steelbook, and Target will also have an exclusive cover, and Walmart will also have an exclusive cover in a box, like the one that Paul puts his hand in. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
did not know that one.
So that are the variant covers. Oops, and I didn't mean to close that out, but I think we were pretty much done with those stories, even though I did. Double check just to make sure. Yeah, I think we're pretty much caught up on that end of things. There's some other news that we started talking about last week, and surprisingly, Warner Brothers has already responded to the outcry about Mad Max.
I saw that. Yeah. Our buddy over at Digital Bits had a piece on that.
They did. So there's going to be an exchange program. I do not know the specifics yet at this point. But also the Citizen Kane exchange program is on. So if you're somebody who picked up for the 4K version of or the Blu-ray version of the Criterion Collection's Citizen Kane, you'll have to look up and see how you do it. You actually have to break your disc. They want you to film yourself breaking your disc.
Oh, wow.
Well, I don't blame them, and to a point.
Yeah. But I've never heard of that one before.
No, that's a new one, but so that news kind of happened in the Interium, because we took last week off, if I remember right.
Yeah, for Thanksgiving.
So yeah, we also found out, because I don't think we got a chance to talk about this. The 4K version of Citizen Kane is fine, which I watched, by the way. So we can talk a little bit about that too as well, if you want.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
But it seems that there is a problem with the Blu-ray, not the 4K, just the Blu-ray, the main Blu-ray. Somebody fucked something up in the process, and I guess like 30 minutes into the movie, the contrast goes completely off.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's a really bad snafu. And they jump to it and are fixing it right away.
Huh.
So, and there's this guy who's a great YouTube channel. I think it's Films for Home, if I'm saying it right. He had a great suggestion. Why doesn't these companies start getting guys like us and them to start doing their quality control for them?
That's not a terrible idea.
It isn't. And at the same
Yeah.
time, it kills two birds with one stone. A, you send us a review copy, and then B, we can tell you if there's any fucking problems.
Right.
Because we know.
Well, it's not only the we know part, and I can appreciate this.
Well, I mean, we'll notice is what I'm saying. Yeah. Before some of these other outsourced places will, yes.
Yeah, well, that's just it. To have a fresh pair of eyes on anything, because you know what it's like. You guys do videos, I do videos. When you get so heavily involved in editing your own work, you start getting blind to the problems. And sometimes it takes I don't know what I'm figuring out, and then somebody else in the house will walk by and go, Dad, that doesn't look right. Oh, and that's kind of normal. I mean, that's how life works. It's authors don't edit their own books for that very reason. You need somebody else to get a pair of fresh eyes on there to catch those kind of mistakes and it sounds like if they just had one section on that disc, I would imagine, again, and we're talking about a very old movie, a whole lot of work to restore that film stock to a point where it was scannable. And then once it gets in, probably they were working scene by scene, or perhaps depending on, that movie might have been shot over 100 different spools of film. And one of them was really bad off, and they tried to either apply a contrast grade to the whole film at one time. And of course, that one section was way out of whack with the others.
Happened. I haven't checked out the movie myself, but
yeah.
I did read about it, but I guess the contrast goes completely off. And the people that have reported on it have said they don't even understand how this got through quality control.
That's
Like it's
amazing.
that bad. Like you can clearly tell there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with Joey, I'm with you, man. It would cut out the middleman. And I'm sure they're paying somebody to do this quality control, right? And from the people I've talked to, some of these quality control companies are like outsourced from out in other countries and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing per se,
Mm-hmm.
but if you got a situation where it's not an American film, like if they're not really that familiar with American films and stuff like that, and that's a big overall problem that one of these days I want to get into with Robert Meyer Burnett, because he has so much knowledge about the industry because of all the stuff he's done in the industry, right? And he will tell us all the things that I've been trying to get across to everybody of why things are the way they are. And it's just because the studios don't want to put any effort into this shit anymore. And it's even sadder when you see somebody like Criterion dealing with something like this. But I agree with you, Joey. It would definitely cut out the need for
Yeah.
any kind of quality control outsourcing, because you just get about a dozen people who actually do this shit already, and I think it would make a world of difference. And I think you're right. You would definitely cut out a lot of the complaints, because one of the other major complaints about the Citizen Kane disc we'll get into eventually here too is the cover. My God. But we got to talk about some of these super chats first. Zontar sent in Canadian $2 and says a 12-inch 4K disc would have 650 gigabytes of memory. Imagine. But is that really practical, I wonder?
It was in the days of Laserdisc.
It was, but like that's the thing, is you'd have to reconfigure everything. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
kind of the reason why the progression of Blu-ray and 4K kind of went the way it did, is because it's kind of using a lot of proprietary things already. Like you can use a lot of the same replication facilities. You just have to upgrade certain things, and the same thing with like if you're producing players and stuff, you just got to upgrade your laser instead of upgrading everything. It's just,
Well, the
if they were to,
practicality of it
yeah,
goes out the
exactly,
window from the standpoint, more or less, of you think about, I mean, like what we had with Blu-ray, what we had with now 4K. I mean, 95% plus of all films can fit comfortably on that 100 gigabyte disc
right,
in 4K with a very high bit rate, or at least a bit rate that is substantial enough to satiate any problems with shadow detail. And this, of course, is provided when they mastered the disc or how they filmed it. It was done correctly. It can't save a bad source material, right? But if the source material is clean, then you can do that. The only movie that I own, or set of movies I own, where the 4K is stretched over two 4K discs, of course, is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings
right.
trilogy. You have to do it because you're talking about 4-hour epics. And the only way otherwise to get those 4 hours down onto 100 gigabytes would be to compress the shit out of those films to the point where you're getting
Yeah.
half the bit rate you should be getting, and the picture quality was going to suffer. There's no way PJ does something like that. But real quick, before I forget, because the quality control issues and
Yeah.
having third parties, that'll work for Road Warrior too, since you brought up Road Warrior. And just so anybody knows, if you're still trying to get a copy of Road Warrior now and all of a sudden your Amazon order got backed up like a month or two,
It's
it's
because
because they've actually recalled the discs.
I
So,
surprisingly got
yeah.
mine yesterday, but it wasn't
Okay.
from Amazon. It was from
Okay.
Walmart. I'm
Ah.
pretty sure I got one of the fucked up ones.
Well, no, you absolutely well, they
I'm
said
sure I
that
do.
the
Yeah.
new replacement discs aren't going to be out until, they're saying, mid-January, maybe early or February.
Right.
So they're recalling everything that is still in stock on a store shelf
Yep.
now, or they're starting to now. And so it's probably going to be like another month or two before you actually see them back on store shelves. So everybody just be patient.
And my understanding is it was just Road Warrior that
Yes.
was affected.
Mhm.
Now me personally, I mean, I'm sure I probably will do the exchange program eventually, but
I watched it. I thought it was great.
I was
And
just gonna say I watched about 20 minutes of it. That
Mhm.
Atmos, whatever. I mean, I understand the purists, they want the original,
Yeah.
but that Atmos sounds amazing, man. Holy shit.
It does. It really does. I didn't have any complaints. And of the three movies, that I have now on 4K, I got them all at the same time about a week or two ago. I've watched all three of them. The Road Warrior visually looks the best
It has
because
some stuff, but yeah.
Well, from a color standpoint, detail standpoint,
Well,
and
there was
again,
some of the opticals they did that didn't transfer well, like where they
some
have
of
the
it, but
shit laying over top of it. You can see a lot of what is that you call it when like the red artifacts start to show up in the film?
just from the matting and the optical effects, or are you talking
Yeah,
about?
it's like it's just stuff that shows up that probably shouldn't be there, but I'd have to actually show you a picture of it to get an actual name
Yeah,
of it.
it's gonna pull out more flaws like chromatic aberration from
Exactly.
lenses and things like that, and that's normal, but I think a lot of it goes back to earlier conversations we had about, like, once they got to, Thunderdome,
Right.
that was in that era of the '80s when you had that ugly film stock that was
Oh
floating
yeah.
around, and there was definitely, like, it was and
I
Thunderdome
think it
looked
was Kodak
good.
foam film,
Yeah,
but
it
yeah.
it looked good, but Road Warrior, when put side by side, Road Warrior looked markedly better than
Which is funny.
Thunderdome.
I
Yeah,
get what you're saying though.
yeah,
But it's because of the completely different film stocks. That's why.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so as far as I know though, they also did have the negative for Road Warrior as well. So that's a good plus.
Mhm,
Because yeah, you're right. Like the scenes that aren't like the optical stuff
mhm.
look fucking amazing.
Oh, the colors blow off the screen. It's
Looks like it
just
was filmed yesterday.
yeah, it really does. It could have been on an Ari Alexa. Absolutely.
The blue skies, there's perfect blue.
And just so everybody knows, there's still that natural film grain in it. They didn't go
Oh yeah,
crazy
yeah,
and
yeah,
strip
yeah.
all that out with DNR and bullshit. It looks good, but in terms of the color and the clarity, the contrast, the HDR grading, it could have been done on an Alexa yesterday.
You see the little gravel on the road, and I love just how the contrast between the desert
It's
floor
never
and the
looked so
blue
good.
sky just pops.
Yeah.
The colors of the cars pop.
Mhm.
The sound, but that was the thing was the Dolby Atmos mix. And again, I don't know what they added or changed as far as the sound. I didn't notice anything from the 20 minutes I watched, but just that opening chase bit, that opening crash bit, like the sound in that was holy shit. Like it was, you felt like you were in that
Oh,
car.
yeah.
It was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you're just like, holy shit, But yeah, Zontar, you never know. But I don't think they'll ever go to that place. But maybe for science. Steven says, Hail Tom, Valiant in chat. Well, thank you for that deleted scenes. We appreciate you being here. Michael Miller says, Meanwhile, Viacom is fucked facing suit now. Well, we'll have to see on that. I know you sent me a few things, Michael, but we'll have to look into that with Andre. That's kind of a little out of this show's purview per se. But yeah. But on that note, so yeah, if you did happen to get your hands on it, you'll be able to exchange that soon. Hopefully, we'll have some more details on that in the near future. Otherwise, but it sounds like pretty much what Valiant said, come January. But yeah, I did watch Citizen Kane. It was one of Criterion's first 4K Blu-rays. They don't have the negative for this movie anymore. So this is one that I have a hard time recommending because it's an upgrade over the Blu-ray, but not like astronomically, right?
Mhm.
Like because you can tell they don't have the film because they used two different sources, an interpositive that was made back in the 40s of a fine grain interpositive or something like that, and another print from that era as well that was in pretty good shape, I guess. So between the two, they used for all the scenes, and they did a new optical soundtrack as well. So it's a completely new scan from obviously from the one that Warner did before. But I compared the Warner one to this one, and only a slight upgrade on the Blu-ray, on the 4K Blu-ray. So I mean, it's comparable to like the Universal films. Although I will say, obviously, Citizen Kane looks and sounds much better than any of those classic Universal horror pictures.
Mhm.
I can recommend it, but I can't recommend it on the simple fact of certain things. Hopefully, they do a new version without the same cover because the cover is fucking dumb. It is the worst cover I have ever seen out of like it was like Criterion was trying to get the award for the worst cover ever made. I should go
All right.
grab it just to
I got. I
show
was like,
you.
I got to look this up because I have no idea what you're talking about. I haven't seen the cover.
I should have brought it up with me. I'm going to talk about it tonight over on
Oh,
Fanzine's
it's just
channel.
it's the big K.
No, it's worse because you open it up, it's a K, then
I
it's
did.
the
Okay.
A, then the N and the E, but it opens up in like a like not a quad fold, and the discs are in the sleeves. And in the middle, they hold the book. So there's this little part where the lip comes up. You can't pull the discs out. You have to bend and fold back the cover to get the discs out.
Oh, jeez.
It is the worst design I have ever seen for a cover in my life. Of all the worst designs, it is the most asinine one since the Back to the Future cover. I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about.
Yes.
Where they tried that weird digi kind of fucking load the disc in there by pushing the dumbest fucking thing I ever saw for a fucking.
I have nearly broken those discs so many
I think
times.
everybody did. I put up with it for a little bit, and then I just went and made my own covers for it. I couldn't do it no more.
Well, you notice when they came out with the 4K versions of Back to the Future, it went back
the
to
re-release of the Blu-rays came to a better version too.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is that because I bought the Blu-ray set and then I bought the 4K set, and the 4K set I'm like, oh, regular disc center pin clips. None of this squeezing the disc to fit it. That was this. I really don't know how. I don't know how
trying to get some
got out of
patent
quality
on
control.
something. They were trying to get some patent on something because it said patent pending on the case. And notice how no other movies tried using that, because I complained. I had to get a hold of Universal because it scratched my disc. And I'm like,
well, Albert
Einstein
wasn't the patent clerk on that one.
No shit. But he made a lot when he was a patent clerk.
Yes, he did.
And on that note, so I can recommend it to a point, especially if you're a fan, because I'll tell you what, though, outside of the transfer, let's take the transfer out of the equation. You get all the old Criterion special features you didn't get on the Warner set, but there's a lot of the stuff that's on the Warner set that isn't carried over here. So if you're a big fan of this film, you're going to have to keep both sets.
Yeah, licensing, I'm sure.
Partially, yes, but like the big difference is you get the commentaries and some of the other ancillary stuff, but what you don't get is the documentary, The Battle Over Citizen Kane, and you don't get RKO 281, which I was hoping for they would do a Blu-ray version of, because we only got the DVD of that so far.
Wait, did they
the movie with Liev Schreiber?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So wait, when you buy Citizen Kane, you get RKO 281
on the old Blu-ray set. You got a DVD of RK 281. Yes.
Oh, I love that movie.
I do too, and that's what I was hoping that Criterion would upgrade it to Blu-ray, because get this shit, and this is why I was hoping this. I don't know if you know who Melvin Van Peebles is or not.
Melvin Van Peebles?
His son is Mario Van Peebles.
Oh, okay, that's why I know Mario Van Peebles.
Okay, well, Melvin actually was a filmmaker before Mario,
okay,
and he was during the blaxploitation film period. And they did a beautiful box set of all of Melvin's movies, including Mario's movie, Badass, which is about the making of one of his dad's movies. And they upgraded it to Blu-ray. It's never been on Blu-ray before. So I was like, oh, maybe, just maybe. I'm hoping they'll upgrade 2K RKO 281 for Blu-ray, but no, sadly they did not. So you don't get the documentary, you don't get that Blu-ray, but you do get all these stuff that the Criterion Laserdisc had back in the day that you didn't get on the Warner box set. So between the two, you have like the ultimate box set, basically. The only thing we're holding out for is a Blu-ray version of RKO 281. But I keep checking HBO Max. I'm hoping it's going to pop up on there one of these days, because I see they have like The Late Shift and a few other movies from back in the day, same period, that are there in HD now. So it'll eventually pop up there. It's one of the better HBO movies. If you guys have not seen it, it is a great. In fact, I like it better than that movie that came out last year with Gary Oldman about Mankiewicz.
Oh,
Mank.
Is that what it's called?
I think it was called Mank, wasn't it?
Maybe
something like that.
I remember
it was a
Gary
Netflix
Oldman movie. I can't for the life of me remember what it was called.
I thought RKO 281 did a much better balanced version of telling the story of Citizen Kane than that. Because Mank, all that did was kind of make it out that Tom Mankiewicz, or not Tom Mankiewicz, Howard Mankiewicz was the one that did everything. And, you know.
You made me want to go back and watch that movie. I haven't seen it.
RKO 281 is much better film, in my opinion.
Well,
and the cast is brilliant. You got Liev Schreiber and John Malkovich playing Mankiewicz and stuff like that. So it's great. Yeah. And is the 4K Back to the Future box set worth to buy? Oh, hell yes. Yes. I don't think they really added anything new to the features, but the films themselves are definitely worth the upgrade.
Yeah, they did a really fine job with those. Yeah, you won't be disappointed.
But with no further ado, was there any movies that you got this week that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, let's see. I did get a few new ones. I haven't really had a chance to go through them. I actually started watching Howard the Duck
Did you
last
check out
night.
what I said to check out or no?
I didn't get to that point. No, well, no. I know what you like. I watched that because you're talking about the opening scene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
noticed it, and some other people did too. Because it
When
came from the negative. It's not like there's any reason why it should look that way, but I'm thinking George Lucas was testing transferring video to film because there's a few shots in that opening scene where Howard's flying through the apartment building that it looks like video.
I have to go back and look because I was like, well, I didn't play it on my reference system last night because I'm like, I was tired. I got to get in bed. I was like, but I want to start watching this. And I wound up just crashing. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I got about 20, 30 minutes into the movie. And I need to set it up in here, like when I have time, probably this weekend, and sit down and really look at it. But
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
I didn't watch
from
the
what
whole
little I
film.
did see on the set that I was on, especially, I was I was really amazed. It
Yeah, most
looks
of the movie looks
good.
great.
It
So,
looks
like,
really solid. I can't wait to watch it in here on the reference system.
in fact, like after watching, because I skimmed through it, after
Mhm.
watching that, I'm like, I hope we get American Graffiti soon. I'm like, just, I can't believe we didn't get that first.
Well,
But
I'll tell you, one of the ones that I really liked, that he did, it's an unsung Lucas hero. Radioland Murders. I'm waiting
oh
for that in
yeah,
4K.
yeah.
I adored that movie. That is, and I mean,
Because
you know,
Tucker, I think, has a 4K release too right now, but it's not on video, just in
mhm.
digital. So
Yeah,
I know
if any,
Lucas scanned all his films.
yeah, and I don't know what kind of control he has over that. I mean, Lucas is credited as a writer. He wasn't the director, he wasn't the producer, but he was
But
involved in
wasn't it
that.
released through Lucasfilm too,
It
though?
was, I think it was released through Lucasfilm, if memory serves.
See, because
So,
that's what I'm talking about. Like, because in 2013, I think it was, Francis and George both scanned all of Lucasfilm and America Zoetrope's films in 6K,
mhm.
all the negatives and everything. So,
Hopefully that was amongst them because that is such a brilliant, fun movie. And for those of you out there who don't know what I'm talking about, because it really few people remember this or even heard of it. Radioland Murders. It was kind of an old. It took place like you think. It was RKO or it was at ABC or one of the old radio stations, and it was basically during the era when radio was fading out and television was about to start coming in. And it's I don't want to spoil it, but go see it if you have not
yeah, it's
seen
been many,
Radioland
many
Murders.
years since I've seen it.
It is such a fun movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas Star wants THX 1138 original cut. You're not going to get it. Lucas won't release it.
He gets stubborn about some of those things. It's
I
like the
think it got
Star
a didn't it
Wars.
get a DVD release at one point, and that was it, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I know I don't even remember. I was just gonna say it's like people clamoring for give me the original untouched Star Wars trilogy.
You're
You're
not
not
gonna get
getting
it.
it. It ain't happening.
Not in our lifetime, anyway.
No.
That's why I cherish the 4K releases that they're doing. But yes, Captain Krypton, a 4K Godfather is on the horizon. This is something we've discussed a few times now.
In fact, yeah, I think that was the last show we were talking about that 2
Yep.
weeks ago. Yep.
But so unless there was any other movies you wanted to bring up, I think I covered everything I was going to talk about. We do have the main topic for tonight, which is Peter Jackson's classic films have been restored in 4K back in 2018. And now they are being teased to be released on Blu-ray. It sounds like we might get Dead Alive and Bad Taste first, and then possibly Meet the Feebles and Heavenly Creatures following that. And then I'm curious if The Frighteners has been scanned yet or not. That's another good question. But for those who are big, huge fans, considering this is on the heels of the Get Back documentary, which is also being rumored amongst these titles to also get a release. I think we talked about that this morning a little
Mhm.
bit. But yeah, so I'm kind of excited about this. These are some classic. I've got the DVD of Dead Alive, but I was hoping to get the Blu-ray, and there's a Blu-ray out there, but it's hard to get your hands on, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if they was it really a Blu-ray that was pressed or was it like a bootleg
I'm
thing?
not sure on that either. That's a very good question.
Because that's
I think it was an
it,
import.
Yeah, if in import, you never really know what you're getting with those
That's
things.
another good point.
I mean, it could have been something that was on DVD and they upscaled it to a Blu-ray and put a
Very
pretty
good point.
packaging on it. But I mean, if he did it, it was incredibly limited release.
But yeah, so I'm curious how many of you out there, for those who don't know, I guess, before Peter Jackson was known for making films like Lord of the Rings, he made some very schlocky B movies. And amongst the most famous of them was Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead. And then he also made Bad Taste, and Meet the Feebles is another one that has a very big like cult fan base. But Heavenly Creatures is one of his more well-known films. And that's kind of the one that kind of first put him on the map as far as like in the US, if I remember right. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this. That's kind of cool. And I see some of you guys have no idea about these movies. It sounds like in the chat. So you guys are in for a surprise.
Yeah, everybody thinks of him and they think of the big blockbuster kind of stuff, but it's, like most directors in his position, he started out smaller and there was a lot of stuff that came before it, and these are some of those
If
films.
you like stuff like Evil Dead, you will love early Jackson films.
Yeah, that's the kind of crazy stuff he used to do. And a lot of people go, "Wait, what?" Yeah, like, yeah. It's quite a different trope
Yeah.
than Lord of the Rings. So
And I
get
see
used
you
to
guys
it.
are bringing up some of his other films, and that's why I said about the Frighteners is like I believe these are the 4 films that he controls the release of. So like outside of that, I don't know. But as far as I know, these 4 films are rumored to be getting a release. Even Bloody Disgusting had talked about it. So yeah, sounds like we got something to look forward to. And those who have never seen these movies, whew.
There's
And
actually
also,
a Go ahead.
as I said, also sounds like he has some cool behind the scenes stuff he wants to bring in. Uh,
Yeah, and I mean, if anybody wants to, there is like Tom just mentioned, Bloody Disgusting or IMDb. There's some good articles out there on these movies coming out from Peter Jackson. But yeah, if you haven't seen these, they're very different than what you're used to from him. So
yes, amazing, like yeah, practical effects that are amazing in them. Definitely some dark elements to all these films. So if you haven't seen them, I think if you like stuff like that, you'll enjoy them.
mhm.
But yeah,
Let's see. I
did
was
you get a
reading through the
chance?
article.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
no, you're fine. I was going to say, did you get a chance to actually watch any of Get Back yet? Speaking of,
I did not. I did not.
okay,
I did not. Yeah, no, it's just been a busy week. The last few things that I have watched that I've really enjoyed, like I said, was the Mad Max trilogy, which it was great to see. And I had a Blu-ray set of those, which I thought looked great. And I was really shocked at how much more color depth that I was getting out of the Blu-rays. They really did a good job going back and truly remastering these things, it seemed like. Or at least to my eye, it fooled me pretty good. If they
well, and
didn't.
I was
But
kind of impressed by Mad Max when I got that last year.
mhm.
And I'm assuming Warner just used the same scan for their release here.
Probably so. I didn't see the one from last year.
Kino
But
Lorber put it out.
okay, gotcha. Yeah, but Howard the Duck, like I said, trying to work my way through that. And then let's see, what was the other one? Now I'm drawing a blank. Like I said, I've had too much going on. I've got to go back because I know I just watched something else. And let me see, what was it? I know I feel stupid. Like I can't even remember. What did you just watch this week? Oh, I don't remember.
You probably
Um,
told me too, and I should remember.
well, I got a copy of course, Ghostbusters on 4K. And
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ghostbusters 2 came in, and I have not watched that one yet in terms of the 4K. But I actually do have, and yeah, I'm glad I brought that up because I almost completely forgot. I
Yeah,
do have an extra copy
you
of
do.
Ghostbusters in 4K. And I ordered it by accident, not realizing that I had already had one on order. It just got duplicated. So instead of sending it back, I thought, it might not be such a bad idea to go ahead and do a giveaway. on tonight's show.
Nice. So how would you like to do this?
Well, that's what I have to think of. Okay, everybody start PayPaling me. No, I'm kidding.
Well, basically, obviously, you'd have to be in the U.S. and it might work in the Canada because I think Canada's region
Yeah.
1. So if you're in the U.S. and Canada, I think you're going to be able to play this. So although 4K is technically region free, but you won't be able to watch anything else outside of the 4K. So
yeah, and it doesn't
and it
have a
costs you a
digital copy
fortune to
with it.
send it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. So let me I'm gonna come up with an
Somebody,
idea
Snowy
here before
Taco
we
said
close
trivia
out.
question.
Yeah, I think a trivia question wouldn't be a bad thing. And then we'll just try to pick from whoever can stab the answer in quickly, and go from there. But let me come up with something, or if Tom, you can come up with something, and then maybe as we close the show out, we'll drop it right there and get a winner. So we'll think on that one. So stick around if you want to get a copy of this. The other one I watched, and that's why I was like, I don't know why I couldn't think of this. So I finally got my 4K copy of 310 to Yuma, and I got to watch that. And that's another one of those movies. It had been so long since I watched it, I'd kind of forgotten how much I enjoyed it. And it really is a good film. For those of you out there who haven't seen it, it's Russell Crowe, it's Christian Bale, and it's a remake of a classic Western. And it's one of those that it's really well done. I really like the way they did the movie. The story flowed well together. The acting, all the performances I thought were great. And the transfer to 4K, the last copy I saw was on DVD. To give you, I don't even have a Blu-ray copy of it. So this was a huge leap when I went to this. And obviously they did a pretty darn good job of the transfer for this film. But it really is a fun movie. Basically, Christian Bale and his son are, if you don't know the story, they are contracted to bring a prisoner, the leader of a very deadly Western gang, led by Russell Crowe. So Russell Crowe's the prisoner, and the idea is that Christian Bale and his son, they have to get Russell Crowe from the jail to the train station to catch the 310 to Yuma for Russell Crowe to be executed in Yuma. And the story follows what is a relatively short distance between the jail, especially at the end of the movie in the climax scene, and the train station. And of course, Russell Crowe's gang shows up, as you would expect, trying to break him out before he goes to the Hangman's Noose. It really is a fantastic film, and really well done acting across the board. And the 4K transfer was just beautiful. Those colors, all those earth tones in the Western town, they really just pop. The detail, the dirt, the grit, the literal grit, when fingers, hands, faces, the blood and stuff. It's just it looked amazing. It really did, and I was just so impressed. And I keep looking at this and going, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that 4K was made for. Just something simple. Doesn't have to be crazy CGI. You don't have to have $50 million worth of post-production computer animation.
I wonder,
and crap like this.
Because I know that was one of the earlier Blu-rays, so hopefully they rescanned it.
Yeah, I have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure that they did. It did not seem to be, and again, I did not see the original Blu-ray, but it seemed to me to look better than what you would expect if they had just done a quick upconvert. It really did pop out at me as something more than that.
Well, that's good. And I'm sure it was filmed on film too, so that helps.
Yeah, I mean, that movie was done back in 2007, so that was really before
probably.
the digital era was big, especially for a movie of that budget back then. But I mean, look, it scored well enough, and I mean, not everything is going to be a 4.5 or 5 out of 5 score on video for Blu-ray.com. But the video 4K score was a 4.5 over there. And I would tend to agree. I thought the color depth, the shadow detail, everything was really pretty. There's a lot of heavy shadows in there, especially when they're moving through the canyons. In the beginning of the film, of course, you got everybody's wearing hats with large brims, so you have a lot of shadow over the top half of the face. The HDR grading really picks that up, because a lot of times you can lose all the shadow detail in the face where that shadow falls above the bridge of the nose. It's clean. You can see everything. You can see eyes. You can see, and I mean, it's going back and you look at the DVD. It doesn't have anywhere near that much depth.
Mm.
So it really is a worthy upgrade if you're a fan of the film. Or like I said, if you're not, if you've never seen it, I would highly encourage you to go check it out. I think it's back up. I think I picked it up because it was an early Black Friday deal, and I got it for like $10. I think it's back to 15 or 17 now, but it's so worth it. If you like Tombstone, you'll freaking love this.
There was a ton of great Black Friday deals as far as 4K was concerned. I did pick up a few. So, yeah, there's still a few out there. So, hopefully you guys can pick up some good ones. As we were saying the last time we did a show, this is a good time to get your collection started or fill up some more. So,
Absolutely.
there you go. And yeah, let's see here. So do we want to do like a trivia question then?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me think of something Ghostbusters related as a good trivia question, or if you can come up with something. I know we make so many jokes; it's like it's too easy to pick when we've already shouted out a million times.
And there's a lot of the trivia that we've kind of talked about, but I don't want to go too inside baseball either.
Yeah.
So let's think of something good here, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig real quick.
All right. While you're doing that, let's see. I'm going to see what the chat's up to. We've got a $10 super chat from Daniel Davis. Thank you so much. It says, thank you guys so much for the advice a few weeks back. Oh, I bought the Sony UBP X700 at Walmart for $150, saving my Xbox X for games only. Bought over 300 games, but also approaching 700 films. And I'm hoping you're enjoying it and it's working well for you. I enjoy it quite a bit. So I use it a lot more than I do my Xbox, that's for sure. So
I think I have a good question here.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is going to be whoever gets it the closest. Of course, you can't go Google this. I want people to try to remember. It's not super hard, but it's not easy. And we'll go with this to see who can get the closest to the figure. And again, I'm not looking for inflation adjusted. Just give me the original figure. What was the domestic box office gross for Ghostbusters in 1984?
I actually know this answer, but
yeah, I kind of know because I talk about box office shit all the time. Well, you guys can't enter the contest, Tom.
You guys can't Google it. Come on, you got to hurry up. We need somebody quick.
Whoever's, and again, if you kind of think
just throw some numbers out there.
That's fine, but
I will say this: it was the highest grossing comedy until Home Alone. Oh, we got some guesses already. We got some close guesses.
Yeah, people
not quite there. And remember, guys, if you're outside of the U.S., play fair. Okay, we got two guesses for 250. Those are the two closest so far.
Yep.
This is such a Valliant Renegade question. The domestic gross for Ghostbusters in 1984.
Let's give it about another maybe 15, 20 seconds.
Otherwise, we have a pretty close. Are we accepting where they'll go over or just under?
I think over is acceptable. It just depends on who is closer.
Right. All right, we'll give it another minute or two, and then we're going to have to cut you guys off. Yeah, somebody's going to end up Googling it at some point.
Right, exactly. I think we have enough close guesses that came in early.
Yeah, I think 42. I think we kind of have a close enough winner anyway.
Yeah, I think we do too.
Okay, we're going to call it. And I think our winner is going to be Alien Ogre.
Yes.
Because the final tally was $295 million. So I'd say you got the closest there, buddy. Yep. So Alien Ogre, reach out to Valliant Renegade on what would you like them to reach out to you? Twitter or
I tell you what, just you can DM me on Twitter at Valliant Renegade. It's VALLIANT, and Renegade, drop the E on the end, or you can shoot an email to Valliant Renegade, fully spelled out, at gmail.com.
There you go.
So just shoot me something there. Send me your address. Make sure if your email is coming from or your message is coming from something that isn't your YouTube handle, make sure you let me know. So
Preston Bruno does not agree with our overbidding. In this case, I think we'll go with it just because he was the closest in that.
He really was. Even if you consider there was, the original release and even a small re-release factor.
Yeah.
I think the original release was like 283 million, and with the re-release got to the 295. But still, the 300 out of everything was the closest. Yes. So yeah, and it's a lot of people are like 84, 89 million, everything. It's like, yeah, that was pretty common for movies back then on average. That's why Ghostbusters was so flipping big back in 1984 for a movie to turn out 282 million. You have to understand, inflation adjusted, that 282 million original release is like $850 million today. You're talking about a movie that brought in like The Force Awakens, Infinity War, Avengers Endgame levels of box office in the US. It was massive.
I see there is some discrepancies in the numbers in certain places, but because like Sanders, like the worldwide was 296. Back then, I don't think they differentiated between worldwide and US.
The international box office for the original Ghostbusters was virtually immeasurable. It was negligible. I mean, you really did not have international distribution back then. Not anywhere near like you do now.
Well, an international distribution was usually handled by local distributing deals too.
Yeah, and it never really got factored in. So I mean, it was kind of one of those things where it's a different playing field. Really, when you think of international distribution, honestly, you did not have really big, broad, wide international distribution until honestly, really 10, 11 years ago. And the biggest reason for that, I mean, and nowhere near like you did before that. I mean, there were a few films, but now, like, you think of every movie that comes out almost gets wide international distribution. And part of the reason for that is because it's so much easier now that you have fully digital delivery. So, before, when you're talking about having to send out giant physical reels of film, and we're talking, and that was just 15 years ago, we were still doing that. Now you're talking about, 20 years ago, really.
Well, and what's funny, Tim Snuck, is 84 had a lot of films that came close to that. You had Beverly Hills Cop, you had Gremlins.
Yep.
Just to name a couple, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out that year, and I think that did well over 200 million.
Mhm.
Like 1984 and 82
84,
are really big years for movies back in the 80s.
Yeah, 82 was E.T.
Yeah, 82 had E.T. and a few other ones. So, like, yeah, it was 84 was probably arguably the biggest year box office wise in the 80s, though.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of maybe 89, but if you count 89, I think most of that's Batman, because I think Batman did closer to, I can't remember how much, but I think it was well over 300.
Yeah. And when you think about the number of movies, like Tom said, 80, 82, 84, some of these huge movies, and we look back and they go, oh, well, it made, they had 5 movies that made 200 million or 3 movies that made 200 million. Again,
Yeah, Batman did 411.
right, but that was 89, so a little bit later. Yep. But when you look at that and you say you had 2 or 3 movies in a year that did 250 plus million in 82 and 84, again, that's like having 3 Infinity Wars in 1 year now.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't happen. That's how big that was back then. Because
because that inflated would probably be close to $1 billion.
That's what I was saying. I mean, I looked at the inflation numbers for 84 Ghostbusters. It would be 850 million today. Yep. And that just domestic, not international, just domestic. So, I mean, it's because you have to look at how many people bought tickets and what was the cost of a ticket back then. And
$3 to $5 on average. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, not even that.
Not even that in most places. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be more on the 3 side, 350, and we're talking about like primetime, nighttime tickets. Not daytime.
I'm sure there was some bigger cities that were up to 5 by then, but yeah,
probably. Well, by 89, yeah,
definitely.
But by like 82, 84,
so because I lived in a bigger city at the time, and when I saw Ghostbusters, I'm pretty sure we paid over $5 a piece because I remember my dad bitching about it. But yeah,
oh, well, there you go. So, well, congratulations to our winner. I have a sealed, fresh copy. It's not with me. It is. Nope, it's in the other room. So I have it though. I just got it yesterday, and that's when I told Tom on Mead last night. I'm like, I just got another copy by accident. Let's give it away.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
glad somebody was here to pick that up. And 172 of you watching out there. We've got about 119 likes. So for those of you who are watching right now that have not yet hit that like button, please make sure you go ahead and do that. And shares on the stream are great. Let your friends know that we're here. That's a big help. Sharing it out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. That brings more people in. It helps build the show because we want to keep doing it. It's fun and you guys seem to enjoy it. So, Tom, I think at this point, I don't know if anybody in the audience, because we always love to get questions and people seem to love asking it.
Yes.
About, what to get, the kind of gear. And we seem to have new people kind of piling in. I see a lot of new names again tonight.
Yes. So if you have any 4K questions, guys, fire them in now.
Yeah.
Jedi Master asks, is the Who Framed Roger Rabbit Ultra HD Blu-ray still censored? And no, I don't mean the Jessica Rabbit or Betty Boop scenes. I believe the version that's out there is still the same version where they do the few other minor censorships that have been in place for some time.
Which ones?
I think he's talking about like Baby Herman, where he sticks his finger up in the first part when he's underneath the dress, and then I think there's a couple other minor.
Yeah,
but I don't think they've messed with it too much outside of that.
There's one thing that they have never censored out of there that it just still boggles my mind. It is the funniest thing in the movie, and that is when they're having the piano duel. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You'll have to remind me.
So Daffy and Donald are having their piano duel, and they're going at it back and forth.
Right.
And at one point, and most people never picked it. I remember as a kid laughing my butt off. I'm like, did he just say what I think he said? And I listened to it over and over again. And my dad was like, what are you doing? I'm like, Dad, you got to. He listened to it. He's like, oh my God, you're right. At one point, Donald Duck at the end, right before he shoots the cannon, he turns around and he refers to Daffy or Donald Duck, or excuse me, Donald refers to Daffy as you doggone stubborn N-word.
Oh.
Yeah, it's in there. And it's so quick, and of course it's in Donald's, voice, that character voice.
Now that you say that, I kind of remember it, and I'll be able to pick it up if it's not there.
Daffy the N-word. And it's
mean,
oh my God. But again, remember, this was 1947 or whatever. I can't believe they let that go through, but I get it. And it's one of those, it's like Blazing Saddles when they use the word throughout the film, because it's part of like, it's just because the white people are stupid. And that's kind of the point of it. It plays the same way in that scene. And I
know the part you're talking about now. Yes, I know exactly.
Yeah.
What you're talking
so
about.
I
was never sure that's what he was saying.
Just blew out of their head in the chat. They're all going to go watch Roger Rabbit tonight to the Ink and Paint Club scene, and they're gonna watch it. And I bet you I'm going to start getting messages tomorrow. Oh my God, you're right.
I was going to say I'll be able to tell right away, because I know the part you're talking about. I just never knew that's what he was saying.
Listen,
I mean, now that you say that, it makes complete sense. But
I've wrecked it for you. You'll never unhear it.
No. Yeah, like I totally knew. Like I just never So.
Yep.
And Snowdub brings up the DVD version is horrible. So I'm glad we're finally getting these upgrades. That'll be nice. Let's see if any other questions came in here. Let's see here. Nathan Pohl asks, is the cost of 4K projector justified over 80+ inch screens these days? That's debatable. I think that really has a lot more to do with your tastes, what you're trying to accomplish with your home theater. And I mean, the one thing about projectors is I was talking about this earlier off show with Andre and the guys about how a lot of projectors still handle 3D, because we were talking about how Dune's coming out in 3D at least. And it's like, now I've got like 2 older TVs I keep hanging around just so I can watch my 3D movies. But at some point I would like to upgrade to a projector so I can watch both 4K and 3D movies without having to switch out. The upside is you can get a bit bigger picture than you can with a 4K TV. In some cases it might even be cheaper, but then again, I don't know. It's going to all have to do with your taste. They do have a lot of different choices now. I've seen a lot of different review videos, and this is probably something that is definitely more in Valiant's purview.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Nathan, it really depends a lot on the room, your individual situation. And nothing has really changed with projectors from 25 years ago when I was selling that kind of stuff and I was designing home theaters. I did that through, the last couple of years of high school and through college before I got into my regular career, but I've still kept up with it. I love this stuff. But projectors, that you can't defy the laws of physics. You've got to have a room with incredibly tight light control. And you're not going to be able to equal the picture quality that you can get on a modern, for example, an OLED set, like from LG or something like that, like Tom has, like I have, the C series. I think we both have C9s, Tom, or the C series from LG.
I think so. Yeah.
Those, yeah, that level of not only the brightness output, the luminance output, the nits that it can put out, but the contrast ratio that you can get from individual pixels being able to be turned on and off. Mini LED is another new technology, like the new MacBook Pro I just got uses a mini LED screen. Not quite as nice as OLED, but for smaller screens, it works. The thing is, all those things have a backlit light source. So if you're in a normal living room like most of us have, and that's where you're installing your main system, when you put that sucker on the wall, that light radiates from a rear panel or from the individual pixels right out to you. If you have a front projector, even if you have one of the really high-end $30,000 Sony front projectors, which are awesome. Now Sony has an awesome $5,000 projector too that does a great job. It looks great. Does it look as great as the 30 grand one? No. But is it really worth 25,000 more to go from 5 to 30? That's up to you. It depends on your budget. Most people aren't going to spend that much, but here's the problem. Both projectors suffer from the same issue. You have to be able to control ambient light. So if you have a window or if you have a normal living room that's wide open to the kitchen and other living areas and you put a projector in there, you're going to have to shut all the lights out. You're going to have to close the blinds. You're going to have to seal everything off because a lot of times, even the smallest amount of bleed from exterior ambient light sources, they're absolutely going to affect the throw from the lens of the projector to the screen. They're going to interfere in that. It's going to color the image that's on your screen. It's going to affect the contrast ratios. It's not, in other words, I don't want you to spend $5,000 on a really nice projector and another $1,500 on a really good quality screen to throw it to. And then you turn a lamp on and it wrecks it.
Now,
You
I
know?
will say this, Valiant. There is
Mhm.
some now that have they're supposed to combat that. So there's some out in the market that
It
you don't
can
even have to
combat it to an
spend
extent.
yeah, like you don't have to spend a shit ton, but you're right. I would have to say that it depends on what you're doing it for, because if you're somebody who's, in a living room atmosphere like Valiant's talking about, where you're going to
Mhm,
have people turning lights on and off, you got a ton of windows and all this other
mhm.
business, you're never going to get the full potential of your picture. But if you're somebody who just wants a big screen, then yeah.
Yeah, it's
But if
it's
you're
fine for
but
that,
from the
yeah.
sounds that you're making about it, it sounds to me like you're better off going with a television. You're going to get the
Yeah.
better bang for your buck. You can hang it on your wall and it still feels like a projected screen and it's up out of the way and whatnot.
If unless you're
Um,
trying to go significantly larger than, say, 83 inches, which is about the
Pretty much
biggest
like
panel.
86, I think, is the biggest one I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, an 83 to 86-inch panel, that's a big damn screen. That's plenty big enough for most people's rooms. I'd rather you spend the $5,000 on an 83-inch C9 series from LG than
Everybody who sees
spend.
my TV goes, "Holy shit."
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're absolutely
Well,
gorgeous.
I
I
mean,
don't think
they're
you
talking
can
about the
beat LG for
size
the money.
factor, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, that too, but I mean, it's like you think about it, you've got to have a pretty substantial. So, like when we used to do projectors, yeah, we were doing projectors at 80 and 100 inches, but that's because back then you didn't have 80 some odd inch plasma screens at that point. The biggest you were going to get was about 60, um, maybe 70 on a good day. But a lot of the screens that we were installing were 100 to 120
Right.
inches. So if you want to go to 120 inches and you've got a great room that you can really well control the light, or it's a room that you want to dedicate to doing a
Like a
theatrical application.
basement, like
Yeah,
home theater kind of thing, yeah.
absolutely. Go projector. But if this is something going in your living room or like the family room, I would caution you. That's my only point. I think you're going to be better off with a
Not
panel.
only that, I know like projectors have a lot less of a lifespan than I think a television does too.
Well,
But if you buy the right ones, you can just replace the bulbs. So
well,
there's
that's
that
what I was going to
upside
say.
too.
Most of those projectors, the lamps in them are replaceable. So depending on which one you get, yeah, you're going to spend five to ten
And
thousand
then you
dollars
got
on a really
laser
nice one.
projectors now and stuff like that. So if I were you, I would just wait a few years because those are probably going to come down in price.
Hmm.
And those seem to be actually the only things that I've seen that kind of compete or even kind of closely compete with the picture comparison. Because regardless, you're always going to get some kind of picture degradation when you're doing a throw
Hmm.
kind of projection.
And
It's
like I said, it really depends on your
yeah,
screen. So you
yeah.
got if you're going to spend, even if you spend, I have an Epson projector. Somebody mentioned the Epson one in the chat. I have an Epson 4K projector. It's at my wife's studio. We have it in a little small theater that we built. And it's mostly, we do stage productions, or she does musical stage productions in there. But I put a projector in there. It's a really nice projector.
Yeah, you can
Is it
actually
is it great? No, but I mean, it could probably be a lot better if I, instead of having a $400 screen up there that's 120 inches, if I put a $2,000 screen, it would probably improve dramatically. So my point is, whatever you spend on the projector, be prepared to spend probably, at least half of that again on a really good screen if you want to get the most out of it. That's what I caution people, because I think too many people, they buy projectors and they just go
I've
find
seen a lot of
like a
people just
cheap.
throw it right on their fucking walls. They don't
Right.
even
And
like
if you do, you can do that. You can paint that wall white or whatever, like base white. Just be prepared
there's
and
even special
understand
paint out there actually, but yeah,
there is, but you're
it's
losing a lot
expensive.
of you're losing a lot of what you paid for in that projector if you go that route. You really need to
Yeah,
invest in
and
a
really
quality
for the
screen.
price, you can go out and buy yourself a cheap, decent projector if you wanna, like, have it as, like, for fun on the back burner for
Oh
whenever
yeah.
you wanna do stuff like that. Like, even Walmart and Best Buy will have good deals. The only
Yeah.
thing I'd say to pay attention to is make sure what it says the uh, native aspect is because it'll say it's, like, 4K compatible or HD compatible, and then you'll look at the box and read the fine print, and the native is actually only like 480p and sometimes less than that. So the
Yes.
main thing is just pay attention to whether or not it's actually 4K native, 1080p native, or 720p native. And within that range, and that's the thing is I've seen projectors that are 4K projectors put up against 720p projectors,
Hmm.
and you really can't tell that much difference because of the degradation you're dealing with in that situation unless you have a perfect condition like Valiant's talking about where you have a really great screen, you got complete control over all the lighting and all that business. That's
Hmm.
the only time you're going to get a pristine, perfect uh a projection. So like, yeah, it's kind of like I generally lean towards televisions.
Yeah, I mean, in the theater, like at my wife's music school, that is a tightly controlled environment. There are no windows in there. We can seal off the front and rear entrance, and it is when we turn the lights out, it is jet black. It's done. And we can fire that projector up. Like a couple of years ago, my wife did a 24-hour Harry Potter movie marathon, and we had I have the 4K Harry Potter discs. So, she sat literally 24 hours with a bunch of teenagers and a bunch of friends and all the students of the school, and they camped out overnight and they did Harry Potter. It looked great, but it's big again because we had a very tightly controlled light environment. Um,
And you can
so
have
that's
fun with them, even just
Mhm.
throwing them up on your garage for like a
Yeah, if you
drive-in
don't really
night.
care about the image, that much, and
Just throw up
you're
a
going to be
sheet.
losing something, yeah, that's fine. But
But like William,
if you're going to compare image between that and an OLED panel for the same price, just get the OLED panel.
and William's asking here, so are you saying for projectors, the brightness and the light is the best thing to get? I see many projectors on the market, but I haven't made the jump. No, actually, the televisions probably do a better control of the brightness and light because you have to control the environment on top of all kinds of other factors. And again, there are some that are supposedly better in non-dark environments, and I've seen them look pretty impressive.
Mhm.
But again, you're still not going to get the type of quality, the clarity, the depth, the full usage unless you have a specific kind of it's you almost have to have somebody come in and set it up for you like Valiant is talking about like
That's
a
what we
guy.
used to do.
Yeah, unless you're somebody who's just having some fun with it, then yeah, just
And we would
I
talk customers out of getting projectors because they wanted to put them in their living rooms, and it's like, I'd rather you spend, and at that time, even a high definition projector started at $5,000 for just a decent one. And it
Yeah.
was like, I'd rather see you spend the money and buy a 60-inch plasma panel at the time
Right.
and put that on the wall rather than getting an extra 20 inches out of your projector, but given your environment was going to provide, frankly, a much shittier picture.
And
Because
there's
we knew.
all kinds of factors too. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yep.
like you have to figure, okay, if you're going to have a projector, where you're going to have it setting, and then where, because you can get short throwing ones, but at
Mhm.
the same time, you're still sitting there with something on your floor, like you would have for a TV stand, or something like that, or it's taking up your coffee table.
Right.
Or if you're, doing it from the back of the room, you either have to set up all your equipment in the back of the room, or I've seen people run into issues where they'll try and run all their equipment through a long ass cord to the back of the room for the projector, and they couldn't figure out why they kept burning out their receivers and their players. It, you have to add in a whole nother, yeah, it's a pain in the
You're getting
fucking
yourself
ass.
you're getting yourself into a lot more work to really maximize your investment. That's the bottom line. If you have a choice between investing $5,000 in a projection system, even if you get a $3,000 Epson or a $3,500 Epson and you spend $1,500 on a really good Greyhawk screen or something like that, great. You're going to have to do still a lot more work, and you're going to have to be a lot more attentive to your environment than just picking up that OLED panel. And you'll probably,
Exactly.
and I'd rather see you get that, even if you did like the $6,000 gallery edition of the LG one, that it's razor thin the whole way. There's no back box on it. That's all separated from the screen, so you can hang this paper thin bezel right on the wall, and it looks beautiful. You'd be better off doing that, because then you're not going to have to worry about having to watch TV in total darkness
Yeah, and
for
as
that.
Joey
Again,
says here,
unless you have a dedicated room. If you have a dedicated room, different story.
you don't get as deep blacks, and you don't get as light of lights either.
Yeah,
Like the
you
whites.
can't. Not yeah, it's not with an OLED. And again, in order you can well, I don't want to say you can't. You can with a projector, but again, it's about the last 15 minutes of conversation we've had about room control,
Exactly.
environment control. And again, those projectors
Yep.
that can really do that, you're talking about 10 plus $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why I will never even think about it until I actually have a house with a dedicated theater in the basement, basically.
Yep.
Like that's the only way I would do it, is if you had that complete control.
Yep.
Um, so yeah. And in that case, if you got the kind of money to be spending on that, you pretty much can afford to have somebody come in and do it for you, like set it up, and they'll walk you through the whole process. It's
Especially if you're
just
going
so much
ceiling
easier.
mounted, because that's the other thing. Because a lot of people, oh
Yeah.
god, I used to see customers all the time. "Oh, yeah, I can do it myself." And they start trying to put that mount on the ceiling, and they basically you're hanging it.
Mhm.
I've seen people drop those $5,000 machines right on the floor and crush them.
But, honestly, though, if you really seriously are wanting a projector, there's tons of videos out there where people do comparisons.
Yep.
So that's what I would do first. And then you can always just ask your local, um, entertainment store guy, whether it's a Best Buy or whatever. And then if you catch the right person, they're going to be honest with you. I would just check
Yeah.
with a few people, talk to a few different
See, it'd be fun
guys.
if you in your area, you have a specialty store. There's a lot of upper scale, mid to high
I was
end
going to say that's
home
better if
theater
you can,
stores.
yeah, find like a
They know a
locally owned
lot more,
place.
because that's where I used to work. And I mean, we always used to kind of poke fun at the big box stores people, because we'd have customers come in all the time. Well, they told me this. I'm like, this is a this no. We're like, no,
Yeah, once in a
no,
great while you'll find an honest
yeah,
guy, but not too often.
yeah.
Jedi Master asks, or says, I should say, I don't know. Peter Jackson ruined Lord of the Rings UHDs with grain reduction, so I don't trust him not to ruin his older films. This is a very fair point, because even Get Back, I was very displeased with how much noise reduction Peter Jackson used. It was horrible.
I don't know if I was so displeased with Lord of the Rings on the
Well, there is some
UHDs.
issues with Lord of the Rings, as I think we
Well,
pointed out here. I
there's
don't know if
some
you that.
issues, but
I think that was the one show you weren't on when I had Matt on, but we pointed out, we showed the image where Gandalf's staff disappeared into the background, and there's all these other,
no, I remember that
yeah.
one. Yeah. Yeah, no. I get you. There are some finer points, but overall, I think overall it was definitely still an improvement. It was still a net gain for me. And I think more people took issue with The Hobbit than with Lord of the Rings. But again, they were filmed on entirely different camera systems. And when they did the transfers, I think part of that bore out, from start to finish
Yeah.
in terms of the problems. But
Well, because they were shot on film, but I think they were finished on 2K interpositives. So like
mhm.
that's where a lot of the problems lie. So they had to go back and rescan the film, and then they had to upscale the special effects, and then Peter is a little too in love with noise reduction.
Well, hopefully somebody can rein him in on some of this new stuff.
Here's
We'll
one
see.
thing I will say about Get Back. Once they switch to the 35 millimeter footage, it's not as bad
I
in
haven't
Get Back,
seen
because
it.
at the very
Yeah.
end when they switch on the rooftop, because they're shooting it in 16 millimeter throughout most of it because it was meant to be shot for television.
Mhm.
And then when they switched gears at the end, they actually brought in some film cameras. So the footage that's shot with 35, you can tell the difference between that and the 16 millimeter
Oh,
footage.
well, I would imagine so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's a big difference in jump and clarity, because like the 16 millimeter footage, he's got that shit so applied. Like there's times where the people's mouths are moving, but they're not moving quite right because like the DNR is trying to fix the mouth, like,
Oh.
and it's like looking weird, and it's just like so it makes people's mouths look rubbery
Oh,
and their
geez.
movements look rubbery, and it
Like
basically
Superman?
yeah, kind of. I mean, but it just doesn't have the clarity, right? Like everything's smudgy looking.
Yeah. Go back and
Unless
fix
it's a
Henry
good
Cavill's
close
mouth
up,
and
yeah, unless it's a good close up shot, everything's really smudgy looking.
no.
So I really wish he wouldn't have done that. He did that just to wash out all the grain. It's like, no, the grain is supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's a shame if that's the case.
Yeah. So hopefully it's not as bad as on his films though. So we'll see. Um all right. Let's see here. Do we have any more questions? I see some you guys are talking about the projector. I'm trying to catch up here. Yeah, Peter likes DNR now. Lord of Reduction.
Oh god.
Oh
Yikes.
shit. Yeah, it makes everything a smeary mess. Uh did he upgrade it to a high frame rate? Because that wouldn't transfer on most sets anyway.
Mm-mm. I don't you talking about on Lord of the Rings?
No, I'm thinking he's talking about on Get Back.
High
Or he
frame
might
rate
actually
meaning
the high frame rate might have been referring to the Hobbit.
well, oh yeah. Well, okay, yeah, originally was shot it he tried to do this 48 frames a second thing. It was instead of 24, which he was trying to get the smooth motion without this nasty judder reduction stuff that they do on televisions artificially now, and it just didn't play. And that's one of the reasons I'm actually kind of glad he did it because it goes to prove a 100-year-old point now at this point with Hollywood, and that is 24 FPS is perfect. It
Well,
doesn't need to be
that's
screwed with.
yeah.
It doesn't. There's a reason that 24 frames per second works. It's the most natural looking
They
motion
figured
that
this
you can
out
capture.
100
years
something years
ago.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you don't need to change it because if you start changing it, then that means you have to adjust either your ISO, your exposure settings on the sensor these days of the camera, or you have to adapt your aperture settings, which directors and cinematographers are not inclined to do because aperture is what gives you a certain look with depth of field. Or they have to haul in now, if you go from 24 to 48 FPS, now they have to light literally twice as much. It's a full stop more of light needed to achieve the same exposure at 48 because you have to raise your shutter speed to capture. I mean, you can't use 1/50th of a second anymore at 48 frames a second. You have to move up to 1/100th of a second. So you have to double your light. So, so think about, imagine a scene where they had 5,000 watts of Ari condors floating over. Well, now you need 10,000 watts of Ari condors floating over the top, lighting everything to do that. So there's too much to have to screw with. And that's why 24 FPS works. It looks great. Hollywood is hopefully never going to change that.
Yeah, it just doesn't look natural because you're seeing shit you normally wouldn't see, and you can just see the proof by taking your hand and waving it in front of your face quickly.
Yep.
The
Motion
human
blur.
eye see, yeah, that's
Right
the way.
now, what you're looking at is 30 frames a second.
Yeah,
Okay. And
exactly.
that 30 frames a second captures at 1/60th of a second as your shutter speed. So you're getting a natural motion blur as I move my hand. The higher you raise the frame rate, then the more unnatural and choppy that motion is going to look. Now, they use higher frame rates when they go to higher shutter speeds, or excuse me, they use higher shutter speeds when they go to higher frame rates to get slow motion. So when you see like
Right.
60 frames per second or 120 frames per second is what they'll shoot. In some cases, these RE cameras can crunch 240 frames per second. They do that, but they play it back. It's still played back at 24 FPS, which is how you get that slow motion effect. And they're using the higher shutter speeds to capture that. So that's when it works. But to capture it at 48 and play it back at 48, totally different story. Totally different story.
We got Roger Rabbit in the chat.
You picking on Yellow Flash. I saw that.
He brings up an interesting point. Yeah, I guess Pete was Peter Jackson, he's kind of like a George Lucas. And yeah, Gemini Man was shot in that either 60 or 120 frames per second or whatever, and it looks horrid.
Was it? I didn't know that.
Yes. But
I
if
never
you get
watched it.
if you get the Blu-ray or the 3D Blu-ray, I think it's in 24 frames, so it looks proper.
Well, yeah,
It actually looks like a movie.
You think about this. If they condensed it down to Blu-ray and they still had 48 FPS or 60 FPS, you're literally talking about doubling
Yep.
the frames, the number of frames that have to be encoded onto a disc. Therefore, for example, instead of a 100 megabyte file per disc on the Hobbit in 4K, it would be 200 megabytes because now you have double the frames. Or they would have to chop the bit rate in half to fit twice as many frames in that space. So that's why. There's no way they're putting that onto a disc like that, because instead of having 2 discs for like the Hobbit extended editions or the Lord of the Rings, you'd have 4 per movie. It'd be fucking insane. And it still wouldn't look as good.
And I mean, I know David B is talking about how, and that's just probably a preference thing, man, because honestly, at this point, I'm just not so sure anybody could ever convince me otherwise. I mean, sure, certain nature things, sports, video games, things of that sort, I have no problem being in higher frame rates.
Yes, video games and stuff like that.
Like
That's where
stuff with a lot of movement to where it is nicer to be able to see what the fuck is going on. But I don't want my movies to look like soap operas.
Exactly.
I want a movie to look like a movie. And that's one of my biggest gripes in the past 20 years is how movies don't look and feel like film anymore. And the main reason is because they're not filmed on film anymore.
No.
Sure, digital looks really good and it can emulate kind of what film looks like, but it's not the same. There is a big difference between what you get out of a picture and how it looks on film and how it's shot and how you do a digital picture. I mean, yes, they're getting better. They're getting close. And I know you, Valliant, this is your domain. So, I mean, I'm sure you have a few things to say about this, but to me, I'm not convinced yet. They still have not done it. You know,
it's part of it is there are so many things that can be manipulated so easily. And that's what you didn't have back in the day when you just had film stock. The camera and the lenses, honestly, lenses haven't changed very much in the last really 40 years. I mean, the biggest thing to advance in lens technology has been autofocus capabilities. But most Hollywood films are still shot with manual focus lenses where, you have a cinematographer up there and you still have a focus puller. That's, they still sit there and they measure out. That's why they mark, where the actor is going to stand. Somebody gets out a tape measure, they hook it to the sensor plane in the camera, and they drag it out to where the actor is, and they go, okay, we're at 6 feet 4 inches. And they will set that lens focus pull to 6 feet 4 inches. And they know as the actor moves, they have to pull the focus in. They still do manual focus. That really hasn't changed in decades because it still looks good. What has changed is what we're using as a sensor. So instead of using a chemical-based film stock, now we're using digital sensors. This is one of the reasons that Hollywood has just stuck with ARRI. all these last
Well,
10, 15 years because
not
they've gotten closest, but
yeah.
it's what they do in
There's still an
post.
artificial feeling to it, right? Like, it just there's some about it that just still doesn't
Part of
quite
it is
click
is
with me.
part of that, I think, for most people is the fact that the grain structure is gone.
I
And
don't
it's
even like
not
to go to the theater because of that now. I mean, I like the atmosphere, but the screen, it's like the movie itself. I've never liked it since it switched to digital. I wish it stayed 35 millimeter. I'm sorry.
it no, 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 I don't necessarily blame you. There is a look to it that really can't be replicated no matter what we do. And this is why, like in post-production, a lot of times they still artificially add in a little bit of grain to give it that filmic
Yeah,
look.
they do, and I
They
hate it
can
when they do
reduce
that. I can
content. I don't
tell.
know, it's obvious because you can't digital grain, you can't recreate a natural film grain. But part of it is the technology has gotten so good. It used to be you go back to like John Carpenter films. A lot of it's dark, night scenes, horror movies. You have to use a very high ISO film. You're shooting. Think of Friday the 13th, any of those things where they're shooting in the woods at night. They're shooting film stock that's running 1600, 3200, 6400 ISO. These are hypersensitive films to suck up whatever ambient light is there, which is next to nothing,
Right.
just to get proper exposure. Well, with that sensitivity on that film, there's a trade-off, and the trade-off is you have a lot higher noise and grain pattern. So nowadays, when you have digital, you can set an RE camera to a base ISO of 400 or 800, and then you can switch all the way up to 6400 or 12,800 ISO. And quite frankly, the sensors are so flipping good. There's virtually almost no more noise structure there than there was at 400. So that natural look that we used to get with film on those kind of movies, that's what you can't recapture on digital without again taking another artificial step in post production to try to add that back in. It's just gotten too good.
Yeah, and I mean, I even notice it just in like the simplicity of taking a picture like with my phone as opposed to when I used to take it with an actual film camera. Like you have
Oh
to go
yeah.
in and do a bunch of digital manipulation just to try and make it like you say you take a picture of a sunset, right?
Mhm.
It's like for some reason on digital it just doesn't capture it the same unless you have a really damn good fucking like kick ass like all the way up there. But at the same time, it's like you're going all this extent for something that I could have got out of a cheap $50, not even fucking film camera back in the day.
Well, that's what let me tell you
I
what
know.
one of the most popular things, like one of the most popular plugins for programs like Photoshop and especially Adobe Lightroom, which is what I work a lot in for the photography stuff, is and I have a bunch of them. Like I've spent a couple $100 on basically they're graded plugins that mimic all the old film stock, and I'm talking hundreds of different film stocks from Fuji, Kodak, stuff like that. That where you basically color correct your image to a point to where the white balance is right, everything's good, and then you click a button over here, and all of a sudden I give it the same color representation as one of my old rolls from 25 years ago of Kodak Portra 160, which was a photography film that was also used actually the portrait stuff was used quite frequently in filming movies back then. So they try to recreate that now, you know? So yeah.
But on the other end, though, I do love that film can be represented properly on digital now
Mhm.
through the carrier 4K, right? Like that's what I love about it. And that's the sad part is I can go home and in my house right now I can have an experience that was so much better than I ever could in a theater seeing a movie, right?
Mhm.
Like even Citizen Kane, even though they don't have the original negative to scan at 4K, I know I'm still hearing and seeing that movie better than anybody ever did in the theater back in the day.
Mhm.
There's just no way they could have. And same thing goes for all the movies we get. And that's what I love about the fact that we have this and digital makes that possible.
Oh yeah.
Right. But so to me, my case to be made is like I think more films should be shot on film, then you transfer it to a 4K interpositive, and then you work from there. That's or a 6K interpositive, what have you, something, and then downgrade it to 4K, which always will have a better result.
Mhm.
And again, so like in Preston, I agree with you 110% here. Film has always had a certain je ne sais quoi, if you will. Exactly.
And there's
It,
still directors that shoot on film out there
yes,
from time
very
to time.
few, but yes.
They're
Like
out
Quentin
there.
Tarantino and a few others, but yeah.
Yep. And look, it's is good, and that is the one thing that really has been or could be improved even more if they'd stuck with it. We talked, like I said, lenses. There's really not been a tremendous amount of advances. I mean, the difference between, like, I still have some 50-year-old Canon FD lenses sitting on that shelf back there. They still look wonderful. Do they look as good as some of the new Canon RF lenses that I just bought this past year? No, but they still do a damn good job. There hasn't been that dramatic of an improvement. Film stock, however, film stock has been improved dramatically right up until the point to where they largely stopped making it. I mean, the film stock of, that you were buying in 2005 from Kodak and Fuji was markedly better than the film stock of 20 years earlier. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing that they could continue to improve on and improve on. Now, there are, certain limitations. You're going to reach, that law of diminishing returns at some point, but it's there. They could do it, and if they wanted to. But there's the convenience factor. There's just something nice about immediate. I have a digital sensor. I can see live right here on a 27-inch, 50-inch monitor, whatever the hell I want to plug into that RE camera. I can see what's going on live right here. I can sit back in my chair. I can see exactly what it looks like. Oh, wait, I want to see what it looks like after we color grade it. Hit a button, plug in a LUT. Instantly, you have a color grade while you're shooting live. I don't have to guess anymore. Is this in focus? I don't have to guess. Is this overexposed? Because you can sit there and you can put on all your zebra patterns and your waveforms right on the screen that says, oh, we've got highlight. We've got a highlight crush over here. We've got a shadow crush over here. Let's adjust the exposure. Let's adjust the dynamic range, blah, blah, blah. That's what they like about it. And I get it. It makes a lot of sense.
It is easy and it is convenient. And I get it. And I don't take that away, especially for like smaller independent productions. But there's just sometimes I feel like film could be utilized still. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And Morgan King has a great question here. What 4K smart TV is a good one to start with? If you're on a budget and you're just getting started, just about that's the best thing is like a lot of these ones out there is unless you're looking for something that's like a little higher end, most of the affordable ones at most of your box stores are not a bad pickup. Like you can get a decent 4K TV for pretty cheap. Like you can go to Walmart, get a 50-inch for a couple $100.
I was going to say, Morgan, how big of a set are you looking for?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're just looking for something to start with, like I think what he means by that is more budgetary.
Yeah.
Like you're still going to get a great picture out of most of your.
Oh yeah. I mean, LG has, and I keep harping on LG because honestly, and it's somebody who used to do it for years. I can tell you, I think LG makes the best TV sets for the money, bar none. They have stuff
LG is probably the
high-end
ones
range.
Yeah.
And they have stuff that's in the mid to low tier range, but the key is they all use the OLED technology for the most part.
Yep.
So depending on how big of a set you're looking for, Morgan, I mean, if you're looking, I'll put it this way. I was looking at this weekend because I almost got this to use as another monitor. And then I kind of hung back because I'm going to wait till I redo my computer system in a few months. But there is a 40-inch LG OLED I was looking at because it's a nice tight size and it worked well. This is the C1 series, so this is like the best level that they make. This one's $1,100 for this 48. Now there's other ones out there. The A1 series is like $800. So I don't know what you're looking for. I don't know what size you're looking for, what you consider entry level, because a lot of people, you might say entry level, but I want 75 inches. So I don't know. So give me an idea what your budget is.
I mean, I found my first big 4K TV was 75-inch. I got at Walmart, and I believe it was an LG as well. And it was really great. I don't think I paid that much for it either. So again, like you don't have to be afraid of like a Walmart for those kind of things.
No.
I mean, yeah.
Here's a 43-inch. These are the new ones that LG is making now. Their new panels on the nano cell technology. Here's a 43-inch for $446.
There you go. See?
On Amazon. Yeah.
Most of them.
And don't be afraid to get a model from last year, like on Amazon, because they'll cut them in half price. And I got news for you. They're just as good as the ones this year. They really don't change that much. Yeah.
Unless there's some leap in technology, which the OLED was. the leap in technology, basically.
Right. And the nano cell is like their new leap in technology this year for their more entry level sets, which still looks really, really freaking good.
And Cartoon
Um,
Man was just asking about nanocell, and yeah, from what I've seen and what I understand of it, it's seems to be an improvement, and it will help in the future as well as
mhm.
we get going here. Like you're getting to this point now where like the TVs and everything like that, they're pretty good. Even like some off-brand TVs do pretty good jobs.
Yeah,
The bigger thing is to just adjust them to your needs, and you're good to go.
that's it.
Yeah. Captain Kryptonian says, or Captain Krypton, I'm sorry, says, how do you think the transfers of Zodiac or Superman Returns ilk will fare in 4K considering the limitations of Sony Genesis resolution? It's a good question. Zodiac, I think, is getting a 4K release. I think we brought that up a little while back.
I know we were talking about Superman Returns at some
Now,
point.
Superman Returns is a good question because that one, ooh, I think that was shot in digital and all in 2K from beginning to end with everything. So I don't know if there would be a 4K version of that
Let's see.
movie.
When was Superman Returns?
That was 2006, and I want to say that
Shot that in digital in '06?
I'm pretty sure
Oh,
because
yeah, it's '06.
well, it was one of the first ones besides because he used jumped into it right after Lucas and Peter Jackson, I believe, was using the digital cameras at the same time on King Kong
Mm.
because they were shooting them at the same time. And King Kong, no, I could be wrong with King Kong. He might have used film for King Kong because the King Kong 4K Blu-ray looks beautiful in the film scenes without anything that's digital. As soon as you get anything that's digital, it looks like ass. So now Superman Returns, though, I think was digital from beginning to end. And I did pick up Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3 because they were so cheap for Black Friday.
Mhm.
And
There's 2 listed here on IMDb Pro. I'm looking at Superman Returns. I've got negative format 35 millimeter HD
oh,
cam,
they
and
did
then
shoot. Well, wait,
well, it says HD cam. I don't know if that
yeah,
means a combination or if
could
it's
have
like
been.
it's a 35 millimeter digital sensor plane on an HD cam.
That's a good
But here's the
question.
thing: the process was a digital intermediate 2K. The HD cam was 24 frames a second. 1080p was the source format. Super 35 source format for high speed shots. 35 millimeter printed format anamorphic. Kodak Vision Premiere 2393. 70 millimeter IMAX printed format. So basically, they upscale everything once they shot it. But yeah, originally it looks like it's showing an HD cam. So it's looking like they
I think it
shot
was
it.
shot like Episode 2 and
It
3.
was shot in 2K.
Yep.
That was the digital source. Um, so yeah. So thank you,
I wouldn't
IMDb Pro.
expect a 4K one for that one anytime soon. And if they do, it's going to be a fake 4K like King Kong was.
They'd have to digitally erase Kevin Spacey from it. So
Oh, there's that problem.
oh, god damn it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
But I believe Zodiac is. I'll try and look into Zodiac some more. Captain Krypton, because I do think that is getting a release here soon. Um, but now somebody brought up something about. I just missed it here about Lucas. Okay. Actually, regardless of how much, because I know for episode 1 he only shot a little bit on digital, but for episode 2 and 3 he shot them completely digital. But it doesn't
Mhm.
matter because I was just going to say my point earlier was episode 1 suffers from a big problem. He scanned all that shit in 2K to do that, and then when they did whatever they did for the 4K versions, they look like dog shit. I'm sorry, they don't look that great.
Yeah.
They're really wearing their age badly. Episode 1, of course, looks the best of the 3 because it was base shot on film. So, of course, the shots that aren't covered in digital shit look a little bit better. But it's kind of the first film seems to be on par with like the Lord of the Rings up converts and whatnot. But then episode 2 and 3, not so much greatness.
Yeah, matter of fact, and that's why I wanted to pull
The
this up to see.
HDR does help a little bit, though. I will say that. Sorry.
No. I was gonna say I pulled it up because I wanted to see comparatively to Superman how they listed this one on IMDb Pro. So I've got negative format 35 millimeter, Eastman EXR 50D 5245 Kodak Vision 320T. So these are all film stocks, and then there was some HD cam. that's
For
listed.
which one?
This is Phantom Menace.
Yeah, Phantom Menace was almost completely shot on film except for a couple shots. But then
Yeah.
episode 2 and 3 were all shot on digital.
Yeah, and I was about to go to those to see what they actually had listed
And as far as
for
I know,
those
they
ones.
were at 1080i native.
Yeah, well, that's what the HD cam would indicate here, because
Yep.
this was before 4K sensors. They did not have
Oh, yeah,
8.8
this is
megapixel
early
sensors.
days.
Oh, yeah. You were lucky to have HD cam at that point, and that's only because I think when that was shot, late 90s, we're talking about at that point, Phantom Menace, the still cameras at that point in time, that was when Canon was really starting to gravitate into that digital plane. And I mean, their first big $6,000, D1 replacement was still only in a still camera. A still camera was 5 megapixels. So there's no way that they were shooting in a higher res than 1080p at that point, and for film, for motion capture.
No, and actually, we almost shot an independent film on HD digital. Almost finished it. So I actually messed with a lot of that early stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, just out of
We had a problem.
curiosity.
You know the problem we had?
Mm.
Our stuff was not up to snuff enough to where we were shooting in HD, but when we would transfer it over to edit, it was only 480p.
Well, could be depending on the strength of your computer. Yeah,
Because
that's
yeah,
what
at
you had
that
to do.
time the computing power we had, it was shit.
So here you go, Attack of the Clones,
Or
episode
actually, it was
2.
pretty high for that time. But I mean,
Oh, yeah,
compared
but
to
you were
now,
still
yeah,
limited. It's either that or
exactly.
you have to do proxies, you know? Yeah,
Basically, like the camera stuff we had was way advanced for the other shit we had. Yeah.
yeah. But I'm looking at the camera was a Sony Cinealta HDWF 900, Panavision lenses. This is for Attack of the Clones. So they did it at RE Digital Labs in Germany, and, yeah, it was all HD cam. There was no film.
Yep. But I can't wait. I got Roger Rabbit on the way, so we'll talk about that, I'm sure. Even though it's been in 4K on Disney Plus for almost the better part of a year now, I think. J. Raybold got a LG 43 inch at Walmart for only $228. That sounds like a hell of a deal, my friend.
That's one of the
Hell of
nano
a
cells, I'm
deal. That's the
sure.
kind we're
Yeah.
talking about right there. That's
Yep.
You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to
Mm-mm.
break the bank, but then you'll fall in love with it, and then you're like, yeah, eventually you'll want to get something even more elaborate, probably.
Yeah. It's a drug. You start buying one, then it's like, I should have got the nicer one. I should have got the bigger one.
Oh,
I'm
you're
doing that all the
right.
time. Yeah.
Because you know what had happened to me too, Valiant. Because when I first bought this monitor I have in front of me right now,
Mhm.
when I first got into 4K, I didn't realize this didn't have HDR on it. Luckily, I'm just using it for a monitor, so it don't really matter. But if
Mhm.
I'd have known better, I was like, fuck, because I was pissed because for like $70 more, or not even that, 50, I think it was, something like that. I could
Yep.
have got a one with HDR and it was like even a couple inches bigger. And I'm like, some bitch.
Yep.
Yeah. According to Jedi Master, you might be upgrading Ghostbusters 1 and 2 soon. Heard Dolby Vision 100 gigabyte disc versions are coming, and Ghostbusters 2 is getting all unreleased deleted scenes. That would be awesome, Jedi Master. Maybe they'll do that with Ghostbusters Afterlife, because that one steelbook I have is out of print. So there you go. Yeah, I got the steelbook coming from Best Buy, Mike, for Roger Rabbit. So there you go.
Yeah, I think I have, let me see. I'm pretty sure I
I
have that.
actually kind of like the. I'm not a big fan of steelbooks usually, but I kind of like the art on that one. That was kind of cool. So it's better than
Yeah.
the old generic art they have.
Yeah. It just depends on what you're looking for.
You know, the sad part is Roger Rabbit has never been a movie that has had a really good poster. The original poster sucks. The original video cover sucks. The original DVD cover sucks. It's never had a good poster. And I
Yeah.
have the original poster of the video poster because that's like the best of the bunch. And I actually also have, which is really cool, which are better, and I can't believe this. The short films got better theatrical posters. And I have the original rolled theatrical two-sided posters signed by Gary Wolf, who is the creator of Roger Rabbit. So those are cool.
Yeah.
But Roger Rabbit never had a really good theatrical poster. I really hated that one where it's like the film in the shape of Roger. I hated that one. I always hated that one.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of random, but
no. But it reminded me to go check, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I had that in my pre-order basket, because I couldn't remember if I did the pre-order from Best Buy or from Amazon.
I say I think it came out this week. If not, it comes out
Next week.
next week. Yeah.
Yeah, December 7th.
Yeah.
So it's next Tuesday. So
E-Man, yeah, it'll have, well, the scenes have been altered for years, but people were bringing up the other possible alteration we'll be looking out for. But I got the digital version. I can go check tonight, right after we get done here. I could probably check it right now, actually, if I wanted to. I know that movie in and out. Like, that's the thing. The movies like me that I know from when I'm a kid, they're like songs. So if something's missing or something's not right, I'm gonna pick it out right away. So that's why I understand the people with Mad Max, even though I don't know Road Warrior that well. I know there's people that watch that movie so many fucking times growing up, like me with Ghostbusters and Gremlins and, you know, Jaws and Roger Rabbit and Bill and Ted and certain movies where I just know the music. Ninja Turtles is another one too. I know the music of that movie. If it's not something don't sound right, it's gonna stick out to me right away. I'm surprised I didn't notice so much on Batman because I watched that one quite a bit too, but a lot of people had to point that one out to me. But that one was a little bit more minor, I guess, than this was. So I'm curious. I'm going to compare the differences, but Road Warrior wasn't one that I grew up on. So that's why I probably would never notice the difference. I didn't get to see Road Warrior until I was like 12, 13, 14. Like just the Mad Max movies were never ones my parents got into. So, but yeah, so I can understand when people can hear something and it doesn't sound right.
I was going to say the pre-order stuff right now on Amazon for Roger Rabbit, just for everybody watching, can't pull it up. Best Buy does have it.
Amazon notoriously has issues with Disney, so
they do. You can pre-order right now the regular edition on Best Buy. They have the pre-order open. However, the pre-order for the Steelbook, the link is a dead. I mean, it's there, but you cannot pre-order.
Let me see if it's been. Let me check and see if mine's been.
It's there. I'm looking at it. It just says coming soon. So they're.
Oh, then that means that they've already pre-ordered sold out of that stock because I pre-ordered the Steelbook. And if it don't come out till next week, then it probably hasn't come out yet. But
no. That's what I'm saying is they haven't. It just says coming soon. There's nothing. You can't hit a pre-order button for that. You can hit a pre-order button for the regular copy.
It's getting ready for release.
Yeah, you can pre-order the regular version, but you can't.
Oh, that reminded me because I made that order with Terminator 2. Oh
yeah, Blu-ray.com savage that one. Jesus, that was nasty.
Did you pick that one up? I'm pissed. I'm pissed like a mofo because the only reason I bought it, I knew the 4K version was going to be the same one we got. So that's not even the reason I'm pissed. I'm pissed because I already had the documentary they're claiming was new. It was on the import.
Oh, well, it's new to the States.
Exactly. I'm like, you motherfucker. So I basically paid $20 for a fancy steelbook cover. Granted, it is one of the better steelbook covers, but to me, that ain't worth like 20 goddamn bucks. I already opened it, some bitch. So I started watching it, and I'm like,
it's the same shit.
This looks familiar. Wait a minute. Have I seen this already? So I went over, and sure shit, I pulled out my 3D Terminator 2, which is the import. Because the difference was when they did the version over here in the US, there is a 3D version, I think, that was in the US, but I ended up importing it because the 3D version didn't come out till later and it was in limited stock. I think it was just like a Best Buy exclusive or some shit. I can't even remember what it was, maybe Target or something like that. Regardless, I never got it because I got the import way before the one came out here. Well, the version that came out here in the 4K, regardless, came with the old Lionsgate Blu-ray. The version I imported had the new 4K scan Blu-ray, not the 4K Blu-ray, but the scan Blu-ray of Terminator 2, which had the new documentary on it from Studio Canal. So I had it already, and I wish I had known that because I would have warned anybody out there who already had it imported, you have that documentary.
Well, I'll put it this way. By the time
I'm apologizing now. That's my fault for not paying enough attention.
I will tell you, just everybody out there, as a preview for what I will be drooling over on next Wednesday's show. By that point, as of right now, it is scheduled to be here Tuesday next week. And I promise you by Wednesday night, I will have binged all of them. And that is the Karate Kid 4K trilogy.
Yes, that's right. It does come out
So
already. Holy shit.
it is gonna be here. Now, of course, I've already got Karate Kid,
First
the
one,
first
yeah.
one on 4K, which
Looks
is
beautiful.
exquisite. It is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful
I
4K
was
discs I
so
have.
glad because
The
that was one of those
second one,
movies
I
that they
love the
did not
second
use that
Karate Kid.
shit film stock at that time. Karate Kid looks amazing. I'm
Yep.
so glad they didn't use that shit film
And
stock.
Karate Kid 2 was 89, so it was well past that nasty
86
stock.
actually, but yeah.
No, it was 89, I thought.
83 was 89. 2 was 86, 3 was 89.
80. Well, I didn't think it was just 2 years later. Okay, I was thinking it was a few years
No,
later.
they
Maybe,
actually
yeah, maybe that's
started
why. Yeah.
shooting. They started shooting Karate Kid 2 while Karate Kid was still in theaters. They greenlit the son of a bitch after the
Okay.
first weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, it was already kind of in the planning stages, but as soon as they knew they had a hit, they're like, greenlit.
Yep. Yep. That's what I'm thinking of. I had it
Because
backwards.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he told Ralph Macchio, he goes, just wait, kid. If these are hit, we're going to be making a bunch of them.
John Albison?
No, it wasn't Albison. It was the head of the studio at the time.
Oh, okay.
Because
head of Columbia.
Because the press, the pre-screenings were like the best they'd ever had for ratings.
Yeah.
In studio history. And it was that movie that kind of took the focus off of Ghostbusters, because the head of the studio hated Ghostbusters and wanted to kill it. He hated it, and it's like, this movie's costing us too much money. It's going to be a big fucking flop. Nobody's going to go see it, and it's this, and it's supposed to be a comedy, and it's costing us $30 million fucking dollars.
Mm-hmm. that's like the thing that J.K. Rowling still has hanging on her wall. The rejection letter from I forget what big book publishing company it was, saying this is the stupidest thing I've ever read in my life. Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So yeah, same thing. You know, sometimes those people running the shows and writing the checks really don't know their ass from a hole
I
in
wish
the
I could
ground.
remember the guy who was the head of the studio at the time, but he also is. But yeah, he was. They were all like giddy with Karate Kid because they knew they had a hit on their hands, which it was. It was a big hit.
Yeah.
But Ghostbusters, I think, dwarfed it by twice as much, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Oh no, he wasn't fired. Actually, that guy did great. He didn't get fired for a couple of years. It was the two people after him that really fucked up the studio.
Yeah, he said he thought it was stupid, but when the box office returns for Ghostbusters started coming on, he was like, "I knew this was gonna work."
Well, here's the thing. Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't believe in it, he still gave him the extra $10 million they needed, right? Because the movie's original budget was only 20.
Yep.
And they knew they needed another 10 to finish it. And he was smart enough to do that, because he could have killed it then probably. But, you know, you're looking at it. I already invested $20 million in this movie. Yeah, fuck it.
Yep. No, they're releasing this Karate Kid thing right at the right time, and the reason it's some people are asking about next Karate Kid. No, that's not in it. The Hilary Swank one is not in it. This is just 1, 2, and 3. It's let's just call this the LaRusso saga. You know, like the Skywalker saga. This is the LaRusso saga, and the reason being obviously is
Frank Price, I believe, was. Yes, you're right. Sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. That what it was. Okay. No, I was gonna say, because we've got, of course, Cobra Kai season 4. That is imminent. I think it's New Year's Eve it comes out, right? Or right around then?
No, it comes out right around Christmas, actually, I believe.
Oh, Christmas. Okay, the week before Christmas. I knew it was Christmas or New Year's Eve.
Or maybe it's the 30th. I mean, you might be right.
Might be. Okay, I knew it was like right at the
You
end
might
of
be
December.
right.
So, of course, I mean, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's an amazing show. But if you have watched it, you already know by now what's coming. They've set up the whole Terry Silver thing. So we got to have Karate Kid 2 and 3. And, of course, in this 3rd season of Cobra Kai, Daniel goes back to Okinawa, and they bring back the cast from Karate Kid 2. So this is great timing. You know, this is what we need. This is what we want, and I can't wait to see it. So I promise you, we're going to be talking about those next week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little upset that next Karate Kid isn't in the bunch, but hey, it's either never going to get a 4K release, or they're just holding off on it because they haven't scanned it yet, and that just means Hilary Swank ain't in this season.
Well, that's what I
look.
You're laughing. I think you're right. I think
because I'll tell you, Valliant. I don't know. I can't remember. I think I knew you already, but I mentioned this back when the last season happened. I'm like, I guarantee you we're going to get at least a 4K Blu-ray of Karate Kid 2, because they obviously rescanned everything in 4K for Cobra Kai because they had all those alternate shots.
Yep.
So I'm like, I guarantee you. And then they had some shit from part 3 creep in there too. So I'm like, yeah, they're definitely going to give us part 2 and 3. They're coming. Yeah.
We're getting
and
the
then
LaRusso saga
to hit it home like a home run. I did the survey because I got the first Columbia collection, they
Mhm.
did a survey for the second one, and Karate Kid 2 was one of the movies on that list. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that they took into consideration how many votes that got on everything else. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
and
I, of course,
I
heard they
think
had a
we'll
4K
see.
scan on La Bamba, so I had to write that one in. But yeah.
Yeah, throw that one out there. Sure, why not? Oh,
Well, I heard they
I
got a
think they'll
4K
do.
scan of it, so why not?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think, if anybody's interested, I think we'll see the next Karate Kid, which, well, I mean, look, was it as good as the first set, the LaRusso saga? Well,
No.
no, but it was still a fun movie. It wasn't great, it wasn't amazing, but it was still fun. And yeah, I think at some point, look, they'll bring her in. I think it'd be kind of crazy not to because
I
when
almost guarantee it, and I've said this before.
yeah. Well, the beautiful thing was with the next Karate Kid, even if you liked it or didn't like it, it doesn't matter, is that unlike what Hollywood likes to do now, is to bring in a female character to replace the male characters and then shit all over the male characters. That wasn't what they did with her. It was literally just Daniel had grown up. He had moved on. He'd gotten married and he had his own life now. And Miyagi was by himself. And one of his war buddies passed away. And Hilary Swank kind of became his student. And he even talked about Daniel in the movie, or tacitly. But I mean, they just continued on. It was just Miyagi in his older life, and he felt compelled to help the daughter or the granddaughter, I can't remember what it was, of his departed friend. And
Yeah.
it was a good story. And
The
yeah, I mean,
problem is,
it would make total sense to bring her in.
honestly, I could do a fan edit of that movie that would probably fix a lot of the problems. You basically cut out all the bad guys. The movie ends. No, I'm serious. The
Yeah.
movie ends with no fight.
Mhm.
It's just Julie coming to peace, and when they let the eagle go at the end after it's been healed, that's the end of the movie right there. You don't need any. You don't need a big fight. You don't need a bunch of other shit.
Yep.
You don't need a bunch of antagonists, because the antagonist is already Julie's anger.
Okay.
And that's where I think she's going to come into play here, because they've already set up that. I don't know if you ever remember this line, but I think it was season 2 where she's got Johnny's son. What's his name? I just forgot his name. Shit.
Robbie?
Robbie. Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay. Oh, yeah, in the
Robbie and
show, in Cobra
Daniel.
Kai.
Yeah, Robbie and
Yeah.
Daniel's daughter are being trained together, and he goes, "It's been a
Yep.
long time since 2 students have trained in this dojo."
Mhm. Yeah, that's a
And
good
the
point.
technique that he teaches them is a technique that could only be taught to 2 students.
Yep. That's actually I didn't pick that up. That's a good observation.
And if you think about it, after all this dust settles, and this is me just positing now, but
Mhm.
if you have 2 conflicting styles in the Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai-Do between Johnny and Daniel,
Mhm.
they need to kinda tame down some of these wilder kids. And that's, Daniel was always a little bit of a hothead, but he was not nearly the hothead Julie was, right? And that
Yeah.
was the whole point. Julie already knew karate. It wasn't so much Mr. Miyagi teaching her karate, it was teaching her focus and
Control,
control
self-discipline. Yeah.
and self-discipline. So I think
Yeah.
that's where she's going to come into play.
I
Is
think
she's
that
going to
would be
help the
great.
Cobra Kai kids learn more self-discipline, and
Yeah,
then
and
maybe
then
toughen up the Miyagi-Do kids a little bit.
they're good at these season-ending cliffhangers, So it's we got Johnny throwing the phone, and you see Allie calling him back, and then we had the season 3 cliffhanger with you kind of knew that Silver was coming in. They left that open. So I mean, the way they set these things up, I could see that happening at the end of season 4, where they're just going to keep going because look, people love this show. So, any case, but I
But
do
no.
have to get
Yeah, we
running.
are going to wrap this up. This has been
Yeah.
a wonderful show. There's been almost
Mhm.
200 of you guys watching this whole time. Thank you
Yeah. Thank you,
so
audience.
much
Amazing
for
people
coming
out
back,
there.
and for the newcomers. We
Mhm.
appreciate it. We love how engaged you are.
I'm sorry. I just saw Uncle Remus's comment. And pull
Which
that
one?
one up. The last one in the
Oh,
list.
Shredder on Cobra Kai.
Yes.
Well, what's funny is
I
they've
love
actually
it.
got that figure set. Did you see
Yeah.
that? The
The
Ninja
figures.
Turtles with the Cobra Kai cast?
No.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
fucking
I
like a
gotta go look
Target
that up.
exclusive, man. I can't
Oh,
wait.
I'm buying it. I'm
Yeah, they
buying
got
it.
a 2-pack each of each turtle comes with a like Daniel and Johnny and all that business. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I gotta have it. At
Yeah, I was
Target?
like, how the hell did they work this out? I think it was either Target or somebody, but it's coming. I can't remember who's
Bring in
bringing
Ninja Turtles to Cobra Kai. Just I don't care how stupid it is.
Yeah,
Just
there's
do
no
it.
rhyme or
Do
reason
it.
for it. Just cause.
Just do it.
I don't care. It makes fucking sense to me. Do
Yeah.
it. And the Daniel figure does look very good. Yes. Yeah, the figures look cool. So Shredder is confirmed. Yes. No, I don't think they'll do any actual.
That would be
crossover,
badass.
But they are crossing
would be
over in the
badass.
toys, though. That's for sure.
I almost spent like $300
see
on
if
a
I can
Hollywood
find one of
grade
these here.
Cobra Kai outfit this year for Halloween.
Oh, yeah?
So yeah, I should have done it. I should have done
I
it.
just got myself a Cobra Kai sweatshirt. Oh, no, they're all over the place. Okay. So you can get them anywhere. Oh, they're already out. Shit, I got to get these. So like right here's John
Oh,
Kreese.
TMNT versus Cobra Kai. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I see it.
Here's John Kreese with Raphael.
Holy shit, that's awesome. Oh, they're $40 a pop.
I know.
I don't care.
Well, that's 2 figures though. That's not too bad. That's $20
No.
a figure.
No,
So there's Kreese with Raphael. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, John Kreese, Raphael, and then you've got Mikey and Daniel, Donatello and Johnny. Oh god, this is so freaking awesome.
I know. I gotta wait till I have the money now. I didn't know
Leonardo versus Miguel.
I usually pre-order this shit.
This is great.
I know, right? I can't believe you didn't know about this. People have been telling me about this for a while. It's like
no, and they have like a Diamond Select exclusive Karate Kid Cobra Kai 7-inch action figures. That's a separate piece. That's nice though. It's like a box set. Actually, the figures look nicer than what comes.
It's almost like I swear somebody got in my fucking head, right? Like,
yeah, no shit. I gotta go spend some money.
What can we make that will make Tom Connors buy it? Mix Cobra Kai with Ninja Turtles. You're all right.
Oh my god, this is
awesome. He'll buy every one of them.
Yeah,
2 of them each.
That's one of the few PlayStation games that like Renegade Junior will still play with the PlayStation. Like, normally he wants me to go play Roblox with him, but if I get him on the PlayStation, we play Cobra Kai, and we love doing that because it's a classic side-scrolling arcade game. It's like it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I got to get back in and finish the other side of it. I finished the first side. Now I got to finish the other side.
Yeah, we're still doing the Daniel side.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway.
All right, let's wrap this up, kids. Thank you so very, very, very much. You guys have been amazing. Hit that like button to let Andre know that you enjoy the show. Throw your questions and comments into the chat, and I'm going to try and go back and go through and grab up all your good questions for future shows, because I'm sure you guys have had some good ones. This will get transferred over to me live after it's said and done, though, so keep that in mind. But there is a playlist that has them all in it, so you can find the show that way in case you want to check out classic episodes, because this is our 8th episode, and we actually just gained more viewers as we're leaving, which is sad. But thank you so much for checking in. You can always back it up and watch it from the beginning. You guys have been awesome. Thank you again. And Valiant, you got anything coming up you want to plug real quick?
Did a video this morning talking about the Hawkeye kerfuffle with the terrible ratings on Disney Plus, the worst.
Did you watch it at all?
I have not yet.
And I did watch the first episode.
I'm a little skeptical of it because and again, I talk about this in the video. This is Marvel's continued theme of just discarding characters that they've spent 10 years creating and replacing them with either non-male or non-white or non-this. It just keep replace, discard. I'm kind of not interested anymore. Obviously, the audiences aren't either, but I will say this as a tease. When I get back this evening around 10 o'clock tonight, my time, and not live, this will be out probably tomorrow. Cameron Pasha is coming back. He and I are going to have a conversation about the Kennedy stuff, as we always do, since we've had another bit of news come out this week on that. Some more confirmation of some things that we had talked about in previous weeks. So stay tuned. That video should be out tomorrow morning, and then we'll see where the days take us from here.
Yeah.
So
and SXHBK, we are going to start up again this weekend. We took off last weekend for the holiday, but Saturday, I believe at 5 p.m. Central on Midnight's Edge After Dark, we've got the Tremors coming up this week. We're doing Tremors, and then December 18th, we got I can't give away too much, but we may have some very special guests joining Script and I to talk about Road Warrior.
Ooh.
So do tune in. Until then, check out Valliant Renegade's channel. Let's see whose channel we can raid here. You know what? Our buddy Cameron Pasha is over on Force of Light Entertainment. Why don't you guys go over there and say hello to Cameron and the ladies for us? Tell them that Tom of Midnight's Edge sent you. There you go. And then just in case you may not be your cup of tea, and you just happen to be a fan of Scott, you can head on over to The Dump, which is still going. And I might even pop in over there. So there you go. Raid one of those two and tell them we sent you.
Just did it. Just did it. I headed over to Force of Light because then I'm going to go pick on them. Because every time Cameron and I have an interview, he is always on a show with a bunch of ladies about an hour before that he and I sit down and do our thing. This is like a thing. If I tell Cameron, dude, let's get together tonight and record this, and I turn on YouTube right now, like in 2 hours before we're supposed to talk, he's on with a bunch of good-looking ladies. Tom, did we lose Tom? Uh-oh. Is Tom having internet problems again? We may have lost Tom. Well, you guys hang tight because I can't really shut this down from here. So hang tight. I'm going to try to get back into the chat. Tom is probably trying to reboot right now. No worries. I see the stream looks like it is still live over here. Let's see. Okay, so you guys in the chat, y'all can still see me and hear me, right? Looks like it. Yep, I'm stuck here. Thank you very much. I am stuck here. I'm stuck here until Tom gets back. At least I'm not really sure because I don't think that I can turn this off from my edge because I do not have administrative control on the obviously the Midnight's Edge StreamYard. Oh, there's Tom. He's back.
My internet just took a fucking shit. I got it. This is.
I started talking. I'm like,
ridiculous.
I'm talking about Tom not saying anything. I'm all alone.
No, you're
So it's
not,
all right.
sir. You're
It's
not
all right.
alone. But let's end this now before my internet goes out again.
It's good to see
And I
everybody.
have to wake
Take
up
care.
Andre or some shit somehow, some way, or Mike or
Yeah.
somebody like that. So let's get out of here. Thank you again, guys. Head on over to either The Dump or to the Force of Light stream. Tell them we sent you. And yeah, take care of yourselves and each other.